The ship landed with a soft hum on the metal platform. Steam rose from its engines as the doors slowly opened. Inside the Galactic Assembly Station, thousands of alien eyes turned toward the arrival gate. Stepped out alone. He was not tall by human standards. His shoulders were not the widest. His face showed no special beauty or terror. He was simply a man, walking forward with steady steps, his boots making small sounds against the cold floor. But it was his armor that caught everyone's attention. It was old, very old. The metal was scratched and dented in many places. Burn marks covered the chest plate like dark flowers. One shoulder guard was clearly replaced with a different piece that did not match. The paint, once bright blue, had faded to a dull gray in most areas. Around him, the alien delegates wore magnificent things. They had golden scales that sparkled under the lights. The warriors carried silver weapons that hummed with energy. The tall stood in perfect white robes that seemed to glow from within. And then there was this human, in his broken armor, walking like he owned the place. "Is this a joke?" someone whispered in the crowd. Heard it, his translator device, small and hidden in his ear, caught every word. But he did not react. He simply kept walking toward the great hall where the assembly would meet. A young alien official rushed to meet him. She had 4 arms and purple skin, and she looked very nervous. "Ambassador from Earth?" she asked, checking her data pad. "Yes," said. His voice was calm and quiet. "I am coordinator. I will guide you to your seat." She looked at his armor and tried to hide her surprise. Do you need anything? Repairs, perhaps? We have excellent facilities." Looked down at his armor. A small smile touched his lips. "No," he said, "this armor is perfect." Did not understand, but she nodded and led him forward. The great hall of the Galactic Assembly was massive. It could hold 10,000 beings easily. The ceiling rose so high that clouds actually formed near the top. Light came from floating crystals that drifted slowly through the air. Each species had their own section. The powerful ones sat near the center, close to the speaking platform. The newer members sat at the edges. Earth, having joined the galactic community only 50 years ago, had a small section near the back wall. But today was different. Today, humans were invited to the center. "Your people requested to speak before the full assembly," explained as they walked. "The council has granted this request. You will present Earth's case for joining the Defense Coalition." "I know," said. "The other species are curious about your people," continued carefully. "Humans are still quite mysterious to most of the galaxy." "We are simple creatures," said. "We eat, we sleep, we fight when we must. There is no mystery." Was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, "Why do you wear that armor? Surely Earth has better equipment now." Stopped walking. He turned to look at her with eyes that seemed older than his face. "This armor has a story," he said. "Every scratch, every burn, every dent. When the time comes, I will tell that story, and then everyone will understand." They reached the human section. It was a single chair on a raised platform facing the center of the hall. Thousands of aliens were already seated, talking in hundreds of different languages. The sound was like a storm of voices. Sat down. He placed his hands on his knees and waited. The whispers started almost immediately. "Look at the human. What is he wearing? I heard humans were primitive, but this is sad. Their planet was nearly destroyed twice. Maybe they cannot afford better. The Defense Coalition requires strength. What can humans offer?" Listen to all of it. His face remained calm like still water. Back on Earth, his commander had warned him about this moment. "They will mock you," had said, standing in her office with her arms crossed. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. "They will look at our technology and laugh. They will see our short history in space and dismiss us. They will not understand what humans have survived." "Then I will show them," had replied. "How?" He had touched his old armor, hanging on the wall of her office, with the truth. Now, sitting in the great hall, remembered that conversation. He remembered the weight of trust. He remembered the faces of all the soldiers who had worn this armor before him. The armor was not his. It belonged to Earth. It belonged to every human who had ever fought against impossible odds and survived. The burns came from plasma fire on the colony world of New Dawn. The dents came from falling debris during the siege of Mars. The scratches came from blade weapons used by pirates who had attacked human trade ships for years. This armor had seen more war than most aliens could imagine. But the aliens did not know this yet. They saw only the surface. They saw old metal and faded paint. They saw weakness. That was their first mistake. A horn sounded, deep and powerful. The assembly was about to begin. Floating platforms carried the council members to the center of the hall. There were 12 of them, representing the 12 most powerful species in the galaxy. The lead counselor was an ancient named Lord. His golden scales had turned silver with age, and his voice carried the weight of 300 years. "Welcome, delegates," he announced. "Today we discuss an important matter. The human species has requested membership in the Defense Coalition. They wish to stand beside us against the threats that face our galaxy." Murmurs filled the hall. "Before we hear their case," Lord continued, "does anyone wish to speak?" A figure stood up from the warrior section. She was tall, covered in dark red scales, with 4 arms and a tail that moved like a snake. Her armor was black and gold, polished until it shone like a mirror. "I wish to speak," she said. Lord nodded. "Commander of the Empire, the floor is yours." Smiled, showing teeth that were sharp as needles. She turned to face the human section, her eyes finding immediately. "I have questions," she said, "for the human." Met her gaze without blinking. And so it began. Commander walked down from her section with slow, powerful steps. Her 4 arms swung at her sides, and her tail traced patterns on the floor behind her. Every eye in the great hall followed her movement. She was famous across the galaxy. The Empire had conquered 40 worlds under her command. She had never lost a battle. Her name was spoken with fear by her enemies and pride by her people. And now she stood before the human ambassador, looking down at him like he was an insect. "So," said, her voice carrying through the hall, "this is what Earth sends us. One small human in broken armor." Laughter rippled through the crowd, did not move. "Tell me, human," continued, circling his platform like a predator, "why should the Defense Coalition accept your people? What can Earth offer that we do not already have?" Spoke calmly. "We offer soldiers, ships, resources, and most importantly, we offer experience." "Experience?" laughed loudly. "Humans have been in space for only 50 years. My species has traveled between stars for 10,000 years. They have existed for even longer. What experience can you possibly offer?" "The experience of survival," said. Stop circling. She leaned closer to him, her face only a few feet from his. "Survival," she repeated mockingly. "Yes, I have heard the stories. Your little planet almost died twice. Once from your own weapons and once from a disease you created yourselves. This is not survival, this is luck." "Perhaps," said. And this armor reached out and tapped his chest plate with one clawed finger. The sound echoed through the hall. "What is this supposed to be? A museum piece? A joke?" She turned to face the crowd, spreading all 4 arms wide. "Look at this, delegates. This is what humans consider military equipment. Burned, dented, broken metal that would not stop a child's toy weapon, and they want to stand beside us. They want to fight beside the great warriors of the galaxy." More laughter filled the hall. Some delegates were shaking their heads. Others were whispering to each other with amused expressions. "Let me tell you about real armor," said proudly. She struck her own chest plate and it rang like a bell. "This is battle armor, made from metals found only in the heart of dying stars. It can stop plasma fire at point-blank range. It can survive the vacuum of space for days. It regenerates damage using nanomachines that never stop working. She pointed at its armor. That thing could not survive a cooking fire. The laughter grew louder. Even some of the council members were smiling now. Remained still, his face showed nothing. Was not finished. She enjoyed the attention too much to stop now. I have fought beings across this galaxy, she declared. I have killed warriors from 100 different worlds. I know strength when I see it. I know weakness when I see it. She jabbed a finger at. And you, human, are weakness wrapped in garbage. A delegate stood up. Commander speaks truth. Humans are too soft for the Defense Coalition. They should return to their small corner of the galaxy and stay there. Agreed, called a representative. We have no room for species who cannot carry their own weight. The voices grew stronger, building on each other. Send them home. They will only slow us down. Humans are not warriors. Through it all sat quietly. He listened to every insult. He watched every laughing face. And still he did not react. This confused. She had expected anger. She had expected the human to defend himself, to argue, to show some emotion. His silence was strange. What is wrong, human? She asked, moving closer again. Do you have nothing to say, or are you too scared to speak? Finally looked up at her. His eyes were calm pools of dark water. I am waiting, he said simply. Waiting for what? For you to finish. His eyes narrowed. There was something in his voice that she did not like, a confidence that should not exist in someone being mocked before the entire galaxy. You are strange, she said. Most beings would be angry by now. Most would beg for mercy or try to run, but you sit there like you are watching a show. Why? Because I have seen real danger, said, and you are not it. The hall went quiet for a moment, then laughed again, but it sounded forced this time. Real danger. What would a human know about real danger? You have fought no great wars. You have conquered no empires. Your people are barely a footnote in galactic history. Tilted his head slightly. We have fought wars you cannot imagine, he said. Wars against ourselves, wars against nature, wars against death itself. We have killed billions of our own kind and still we survive. We have faced extinction twice and still we stand. You think 50 years in space is our whole history? He shook his head slowly. We have 10,000 years of war behind us. We simply did not need space to find enemies. Stared at him. For a brief moment something flickered in her eyes. Doubt perhaps, or curiosity. But then she pushed it away and laughed once more. Pretty words from a soft creature hiding in scrap metal. Words mean nothing in war. Only strength matters. She turned to face the council. I call for a vote. Remove the humans from consideration. They do not belong here. Several council members nodded. Lord raised his hand for silence. Before we vote, the ancient said, we should give the human ambassador a chance to respond properly. Ambassador, you have been accused of weakness. How do you answer these accusations? Stood up slowly. His old armor creaked as he moved. In the brilliant light of the great hall, surrounded by gleaming aliens and advanced technology, he looked very small. I have one question, he said, his voice carrying clearly through the hall. Ask it, Lord said. Turn 2. You mock my armor because it is old and damaged. You say your armor is stronger because it is new and shiny. He paused. But tell me, Commander, why do you think my armor looks like this? Snorted, because your people are poor and backwards. No, said, it looks like this because it has been worn in battle, real battle, many times, by many soldiers. He stepped closer to her. Your armor is beautiful because it has never truly been tested. Mine is ugly because it has survived everything the universe has thrown at it. The hall was silent now. Something in the air had changed. You want proof of human strength? Asked. You want to know what we really are. He reached for the clasps on his armor. Then let me show you. The hall grew very still as hands touched the clasps of his armor. 10,000 beings held their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Step back, surprised by his sudden movement. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "You asked for proof," said calmly. "I am giving you proof." "Stop," held up one of her 4 hands. "This is not what I meant. I wanted you to argue, to defend your people with words, not whatever this is." "Words can lie," said. "My body cannot." Lord leaned forward in his floating seat. His old eyes watched with great interest. "This is unusual," the council leader said. "Ambassador, are you certain you wish to do this? The assembly does not require such displays." "The assembly requires truth," replied, "and truth is what I will give." His tail swished nervously behind her. She had expected the human to back down. She had expected him to argue weakly and then accept defeat. She had not expected this quiet confidence that seemed to fill the air around him. "Very well," she said, recovering her composure. "Remove your armor, human. Show us your soft pink skin. Show us the body of a species that cannot even survive its own planet without machines. Let the whole galaxy see how weak humans truly are." She smiled cruelly, turning to the crowd. "Watch closely, delegates. This will be educational." Did not respond to her mockery. He simply began to work on the first clasp. It was old and worn, and it took a moment to release. The sound of metal clicking open echoed through the silent hall. A delegate stood up. "Is this necessary? We came here for politics, not entertainment." "Sit down," another delegate called back. "I want to see this." Arguments broke out across the hall. Some thought this was inappropriate. Others were curious. A few were already preparing to laugh at whatever weak body the human was hiding. Through it all, continued working on his armor, clasp by clasp, piece by piece. The left shoulder guard came off first. He set it down carefully on the floor beside him, treating the damaged metal with respect. Then the right shoulder guard, then the arm pieces. "He is taking forever," complained. "Human, can you not move any faster?" "This armor deserves care," said without looking up. "It has earned that much." "It is junk," said. "It is history." The chest plate was next. It was the largest piece, covering most of his upper body. The clasps were on the sides, hidden under the arm joints, reached for them slowly. In the audience, a young turned to her elder. "Why does he treat old metal with such respect?" she whispered. The elder watched carefully. "I do not know, but I am beginning to think we have underestimated this human. How he is small and weak, his armor is garbage." "Perhaps, but look at his eyes. That is not the look of a weak being." On the platform finally released the last clasp. The chest plate loosened, ready to be removed. He paused. "Commander," he said, his voice cutting through the noise of the hall. "Before I do this, I want to ask you something." Crossed her 4 arms. "What?" "You have killed warriors from 100 worlds. You said this yourself." "Yes, I'm not ashamed of my victories." "I'm not asking you to be ashamed." Met her eyes. "I am asking you if any of those warriors ever truly hurt you, not just in battle, but truly hurt you, damaged you in ways that never heal." Was silent for a moment, then she laughed. "Of course not. We are the greatest warriors in the galaxy. We do not lose, we do not get hurt." "Then you do not know war," said quietly. "You know only winning." "What is the difference?" Lifted the chest plate away from his body. The air touched his skin for the first time in hours. "The difference," he said, "is this." He turned so the whole hall could see. And 10,000 aliens went completely silent. His body was covered in scars, not small ones, not simple cuts and bruises that anyone might have. These were massive, terrible marks that covered almost every inch of his skin. A long, jagged line ran from his left shoulder to his right hip, like something had tried to cut him in half. Burn marks spread across his stomach like splashed paint, the skin twisted and discolored. His back was even worse, covered in patterns that looked like claw marks from some enormous beast. But the most terrible sight was his chest. Right over his heart, there was a scar that looked like a starburst. The skin around it was rough and puckered, clearly damaged by something that had come very close to killing him. Stared, her confidence drained away like water through sand. What happened to you?" she whispered. Looked at her calmly. "Life happened, war happened, being human happened." He pointed to the long scar across his body. "This is from the Battle of New Dawn. An alien blade, 6 feet long, swung by a creature twice my size. It cut through my armor like paper. I killed that creature 5 minutes later with my bare hands." He touched the burn marks on his stomach. "These are from the siege of Mars, plasma fire from orbital bombardment. My armor protected my vital organs, but not much else. I spent 3 months learning to walk again." He turned to show his back. "These are from the pirate wars. I was captured by raiders who wanted information. They used claws and blades and fire. I did not talk. I escaped 2 weeks later and destroyed their entire base." Finally, he touched the starburst scar over his heart. "And this," he said softly, "is from my first battle. I was young and stupid and thought I was going to die. A piece of shrapnel went through my armor and into my chest. It stopped 1 inch from my heart. The medics said I should have died, but I did not." The hall remained silent. No one laughed now. No one whispered mocking comments. Looked around at the thousands of faces watching him. Aliens who had thought humans were weak. Aliens who had laughed at his old armor. Aliens who had dismissed his entire species as soft and useless. "This is what humans look like under our armor," he said. "We are not smooth and pretty like your warriors. We are maps of every battle we have survived. Every wound is a lesson. Every scar is a victory." He turned back to, "You asked what humans can offer the Defense Coalition. Here is your answer. We offer bodies that refuse to die. We offer spirits that never break. We offer 10,000 years of fighting against impossible odds and winning anyway." 4 hands hung limp at her sides. Her tail had stopped moving. She looked at the human before her, and for the first time in her long career, she had nothing to say. Bent down and picked up his chest plate. "Now," he said, "do you still think my armor is garbage?" The silence in the great hall was unlike anything anyone had experienced before. 10,000 beings from across the galaxy sat frozen, their eyes fixed on the human standing before them. Could not look away from his body. Each scar seemed to tell her a story she did not want to hear. Each mark was proof of something she had never considered. "Those scars," she finally said, her voice much quieter than before, "they should have killed you, many times over." "Yes," agreed simply. "But you survived." "Humans survive. It is what we do." Lord floated his platform closer to the center of the hall. The ancient, silver scales reflected the light as he leaned forward to study more closely. "Ambassador," he said, "may I ask about specific wounds? The Council wishes to understand." "Ask anything," said, "I have nothing to hide." Lord pointed to the twisted burn marks covering stomach and sides. "You said these were from the siege of Mars. I have studied human history. That siege lasted for 7 months. How did you survive such wounds during an extended battle?" "I did not receive all these burns at once," explained. "They came over time. The first burns happened in month 2. I was treated in a field hospital for 3 days, then returned to fighting. More burns came in month 4. More treatment, more fighting. By the end of the siege, most of our soldiers looked like me." Murmurs passed through the crowd. The delegate who had earlier called for humans to leave stood up slowly. "You continued fighting while injured?" he asked. "For months?" "We had no choice. If we stopped fighting, our people would die, so we kept fighting." But surely you had fresh soldiers to replace the wounded ones. Shook his head. Mars was a colony of 2 million people. We had 10,000 soldiers to protect them. By the end of the siege, we had 3,000 soldiers left. Every one of them was injured. Every one of them kept fighting anyway. The sat down heavily. He looked at his own smooth, unmarked hands and said nothing more. A delegate in the warrior section called out, "The scars on your back. You said you were captured by pirates. Why did you not simply tell them what they wanted to know? Information can be replaced. Bodies cannot." Turned to show his back again. The claw marks and blade scars formed patterns that made several aliens look away. "They wanted to know the location of our hidden colonies," he said. "Millions of human civilians, children, families, old people who had never held a weapon in their lives." He paused. "I would die 1,000 times before I gave them that information. And you did not break, not once." "I screamed, I cried, I begged them to kill me and end the pain." His voice remained steady. "But I did not break. Breaking was not an option." The delegate sat back, a strange expression on his face. It looked almost like respect. Commander had not moved since revealed his scars. She stood like a statue, her 4 arms hanging at her sides. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "The scar over your heart, you said you were young. How young?" 18 years old, by Earth counting." 18. That is barely an adult by any species standards. "War does not care about age." Touched the starburst scar gently. "I was a soldier because my people needed soldiers. I fought because my people needed fighters. My age did not matter." Closed her eyes. When she opened them again, they held a different light. "I have commanded armies for 200 years, she said slowly. "I have won more battles than I can count. I have been celebrated across the empire as the greatest warrior of our generation." She paused, her voice breaking slightly. "But I have never been hurt, not truly. My armor has always protected me. My soldiers have always shielded me. I have never known what it means to suffer and continue fighting." She looked at with something like wonder. "You are 18 years old with scars that would end most warriors' careers. And you are still fighting, still serving your people, still standing before 10,000 aliens who mocked you, and you have not shown a single moment of fear." "Fear is a luxury," said. "Humans cannot afford it." Lord raised a hand for attention. The hall gradually fell silent again, though the silence now felt different, heavier, more respectful. "Ambassador," the council leader said, "you have shown us your body. You have explained your scars, but I must ask a deeper question. Why do you wear this old armor? Surely Earth has newer, stronger equipment. Why choose to represent your people in damaged metal?" Picked up his chest plate and held it before him. The burns and dents and scratches caught the light. "This armor was worn by a soldier named," he said. "She was one of the first humans to fight in space. She died at the Battle of New Dawn, protecting a transport ship full of children." He touched a deep dent near the shoulder. "After her, it was worn by a soldier named. He survived the siege of Mars. He wore this armor for 7 months of constant battle. He retired after the war and lived to be 90 years old." He traced a burn mark on the side. "Then it was worn by a soldier named. She fought the pirates who threatened our trade routes. She was captured and tortured and never broke. She escaped and continued fighting until the pirates were destroyed." Looked up at the thousands of faces watching him. "This armor is not just metal. It is the story of human courage. Every scratch is a battle. Every burn is a sacrifice. Every dent is a moment when a human being refused to give up." He began to put the armor back on, piece by piece. "I wear this armor because it reminds me of who I am, what my people have survived, what we are capable of. When I wear this armor, I carry the spirits of every soldier who wore it before me." The chest plate clicked into place. The shoulder guards followed. Soon was fully armored again, his body hidden beneath old metal. But now no one in the hall saw garbage. They saw history, they saw sacrifice, they saw strength. "You asked what humans can offer the Defense Coalition," said, his voice ringing through the silent hall. "This is your answer. We do not offer shiny armor or perfect bodies. We offer hearts that never stop beating, spirits that never surrender, a species that has looked into the darkness again and again and refused to die." He stood tall in his damaged armor, facing the most powerful beings in the galaxy. "We are human, and we are exactly what the galaxy needs." The great hall remained silent for a long moment after finished speaking. No whispers, no murmurs, no shuffling of feet or clicking of claws. 10,000 beings sat perfectly still, processing what they had witnessed. Commander was the first to move. She took a slow step toward, then another, until she stood directly before him. Her 4 arms, which had been spread wide in mockery earlier, now hung loosely at her sides. "I have made a mistake," she said. The words echoed through the hall. Several delegates gasped. In 200 years of military service, Commander had never admitted a mistake. It was simply not done in culture. But did not care about culture anymore. Something had changed inside her. "I looked at your armor and saw weakness," she continued. "I looked at your size and saw a target. I looked at your species and saw prey." She bowed her head. "I was wrong." Said nothing, he simply waited. "The greatest warriors in the galaxy are not those with the best armor or the biggest bodies," said, her voice growing stronger. "The greatest warriors are those who keep fighting when fighting should be impossible, those who survive wounds that should kill them, those who face death and say not today." She reached out and touched the damaged chest plate. This time her touch was gentle, respectful. "This armor is not garbage. It is a monument to human courage. I was too blind to see it." Lord floated forward on his platform. The ancient's eyes held a new light as he looked at the human ambassador. "Commander speaks well," he said. "The Council has witnessed something remarkable today. We came expecting to judge humans. Instead, we have been taught a lesson about true strength." He turned to address the full assembly. "For 10,000 years, the species of this galaxy have measured power by technology, by weapons, by the size of our ships and the strength of our armies. We have believed that the strongest survive because they are superior." Lord shook his head slowly. "The humans have shown us another path. They survive not because they are stronger or faster or better equipped. They survive because they refuse to stop. They fall down and get up. They bleed and keep fighting. They face impossible odds and find a way through." He looked at with something like admiration. "This is not weakness. This is a different kind of strength. A strength that does not depend on circumstances. A strength that comes from within." The delegate who had called for humans to leave stood up again. His robes no longer seemed to glow quite as brightly. "I spoke against the humans earlier," he said. "I called them unable to carry their own weight. I was wrong and I apologize." More delegates began to stand. One by one they spoke. "I laughed at the humans' armor. I was a fool. I thought humans were primitive. Now I understand they are simply different. My species has never faced the challenges humans have survived. We have no right to judge them." The apologies continued for several minutes, accepted each one with a simple nod, showing neither pride nor resentment. Finally, Lord raised his hand for silence. "We must vote on the human petition to join the Defense Coalition. But first, I believe the human ambassador has earned the right to make a final statement." Stepped forward. He looked out at the thousands of faces that had mocked him just an hour ago. He remembered every laugh, every insult, every dismissive comment. But he felt no anger, only sadness that they had not understood sooner. "My people have a saying," he began. "We do not wear armor to hide weakness. We wear it so our enemies never see how hard we are to kill." He touched his chest plate, feeling the dents and scratches beneath his fingers. When I entered this hall today, you saw a small man in broken armor. You saw someone to laugh at, someone to dismiss, someone who did not belong among the great warriors of the galaxy. His voice grew stronger. But you did not see the truth. You did not see the 10,000 years of war that made humans what we are. You did not see the millions of soldiers who have worn armor like this and survived against impossible odds. You did not see the spirit that burns inside every human heart. Looked directly at. Commander, you asked what humans know about real danger. The answer is everything. We have faced extinction twice and survived. We have killed billions of our own kind and still managed to build a civilization that reached for the stars. We have suffered more than you can imagine, and we are still here. He turned to address the full assembly. You want to know why humans should join the Defense Coalition? Because when the darkness comes, and it will come, you will need warriors who know how to fight without hope. Warriors who have been beaten down again and again and still find the strength to stand up. Warriors who have seen the worst the universe can offer and said, "Is that all you have?" His voice rang through the silent hall. That is what humans are. We are not the strongest. We are not the fastest. We are not but we are the most stubborn beings in this galaxy. And when everything else fails, stubbornness is what survives. Finished speaking. He stood in his damaged armor, a small figure among giants, and waited. Lord turned to the council. We will vote now, all in favor of accepting Earth into the Defense Coalition. 12 hands rose, a unanimous decision. The motion passes. Humans are now full members of the Defense Coalition, with all rights and responsibilities that come with membership. Cheering erupted from pockets of the hall, but most beings simply sat in thoughtful silence, still processing what they had learned. Approached one final time. She extended one of her 4 hands in a gesture of respect that crossed all cultures in the galaxy. I hope to fight beside humans someday, she said. Not against you, never against you. Took her hand. We would be honored to fight beside you, Commander. They are great warriors. Smiled, showing her needle-sharp teeth, but this time the smile held no mockery. We are good warriors, she corrected. After today, I think perhaps humans are the great ones. As walked out of the great hall, delegates from dozens of species approached him. They touched his armor with reverent hands. They asked questions about human history. They offered alliances and friendships that would last for generations. The man who had entered as a joke left as a legend. And in the years that followed, whenever anyone in the galaxy doubted human strength, someone would always tell the story of the day a small man in broken armor silenced the greatest hall in the galaxy. Not with weapons, not with technology, not with power, but with the simple truth of what it means to be human.